Hey guys, welcome back. This is Real Solutions Part 4 we are on already, and today we are going to talk a little bit about addiction, and then we're going to talk a little bit about phones. And unfortunately, phones have these associations with not only addiction but also anxiety and depression. So I want to share a little bit about our phones and the effects that they have on us in relation to some of those things. But first, just a little bit on addiction, because I think this is really important. And in that anonymous kind of question survey I set up, there were a few questions about this specifically, kind of what is an addiction? Like, when is something considered an addiction? And so to answer that, first of all, an addiction is basically like if you can't stop doing something, even though you know there are negative or harmful consequences to it, that's an addiction. Okay, so it's not like, you just say, oh, I can't stop breathing air. It's like, yeah, okay, you need to breathe air, and that's not harming you. But things like, we often think automatically of drugs and alcohol as addictions, pornography. You can be addicted to all sorts of things, though. Gambling, shopping, your phone, video games, right? Like anything that kind of has those negative potential consequences, and you try to stop doing it and you still can't stop. That's an addiction, okay? Now, part of this, again, this was a question submitted on the survey, is like, what if you know it's harmful but you don't want to get better? It's like, well, that's what an addiction is, right? Oftentimes we don't want to get better from an addiction. What we need to realize is that we need to fight against it because of the harm it is causing us. And not only that, but the harm that it causes others, right? Addictions cause what we call a ripple effect, right? Where, if you throw a rock into water, you see it splash and then there's ripples that go out from that, right? Our addictions harm ourselves, but then they ripple out and they affect and they harm other people. So yeah, you might be addicted to something and you do not want to stop. You do not want to stop doing that. That's what an addiction is, right? But what we need to come to that point where we realize that it is harming ourselves and other people, and fight to stop. And either you come to the realization on your own, or probably others who you're hurting are going to come to you and say, listen, this needs to stop. You are hurting yourself and you're hurting us. And that's where things can get really ugly, right? You want to come to that hopefully on your own, where you see this is negative. I need to stop. I'm going to fight against it. Here's some solutions, okay? Two major solutions that I want to share with you in terms of addiction, and there's probably more, but these I think are the big ones and very important. First is accountability. And what I mean by that is you need someone else to help you. I have some experience with addiction in my own life. This might not be the case all the time, but for me, I discovered quite painfully that I was not going to be able to fight my addiction on my own. I needed to ask for help. I needed other people to keep me accountable, right? So accountability. Find someone who you can be open with, who's going to check on you, and who's going to hold you to it, right? Like you said, you're going to stop this. What are we doing? What's the plan? How are we going to take care of this, right? To fight it on our own is most often, if not always, a losing battle. We need to bring at least one other person in to help us. We need that accountability. Then the next thing is barriers, okay? And what I mean by that is when you are feeling strong against whatever you might be addicted to, when you're feeling strong, you need to set up barriers so that it makes it harder to get to that thing you're addicted to when you feel weak. Okay, so examples of this, like someone who struggles with an addiction to alcohol, right? It's like, first step, get rid of all the alcohol in your house. It's not going to help you if you know that this is a harmful addiction and every time you open your fridge you've got a bunch of beer in there, right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I've even heard of people who were addicted to alcohol who needed to literally drive home from work a different way. I heard a guy say, he's like, my drive home from work went past a bar. I knew that because of my addiction, if I drove past that bar, I was going to stop and I was going to get a drink. So I needed to, even though it took longer, I needed to drive a different way home so that I would not feel that temptation, right? We need to set up as many barriers as we can so that when we are weak, when we're feeling tempted, it is difficult for us to get to that thing that we are addicted to. Right, another great example of this, setting up software on your phone or your computer, that kind of thing that's going to block websites that have inappropriate stuff on them, right? Set up those barriers so that it's hard to get to what we are struggling with. Okay, I want to share this verse here, 1 Corinthians 10:13. There's a couple of really useful things in this verse. It says, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man." Okay, I just want to pause there. The things that we struggle with, the temptations we face, you are not alone in that, okay? I guarantee you that you are not alone. We all struggle with things, and there's going to be a lot of us that struggle with the same things, okay? A lot of times, what stops us from getting accountability is shame and is pride, right? We feel guilty. We don't want to admit that we're struggling. Our pride gets in the way. We need to realize that we are not alone in this. We don't need to feel guilt or shame. Because a lot of us struggle with these things, right? I don't need to get into details, but I've struggled with addiction and depression and anxiety, okay? So if you're ashamed, know that you're not alone. I can guarantee you're not alone because I have too, okay? These temptations that overtake us, it says, is not common to man, meaning like we all face these struggles, okay? Then it says, God is faithful and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. What this essentially means is that we always have the choice to not give in to temptation. There is no situation where we can say, there was no other option for me. I had to do this thing that I was addicted to. It's like, no, God has always provided a way of escape. A lot of times those ways of escape are accountability and barriers that we've set in place, right? But there's no excuse. There's no excuse for us when we give into that temptation to say, I had no other choice. No, you always have a way out. It's about being smart and setting up so that we give ourselves the best opportunity to escape, because God always provides that for us. Okay, so that's a bit on addiction. It's a huge, huge topic. I can't cover all of it in just this lesson. I would just say, please, like if you are struggling with an addiction, or even if you're not sure, you think you might be struggling with an addiction, please, like reach out to someone today. Reach out to me, reach out to a youth leader, reach out to a parent or a friend. Reach out to someone. You need someone to help you if you're going to overcome it. And if you're still like, I don't know if I even want to give this up, please realize the harm that it is causing yourself and is causing other people. Okay, please ask for help. All right, let's talk a little bit about our phones. Okay, I want to outline just a few things because phones are highly connected to addiction. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but I just want to outline a few of the negatives with phones and a few of the positives as well, okay, because phones are not all bad. Chances are good you have some sort of phone or device that can connect you to the internet and social media and that kind of stuff. That's what I'm referring to, okay? So one of the things we need to realize is that phones can actually mess with our sleep. And as we hopefully have realized through this series, getting good rest and sleep is really beneficial for our mental health. And so when things mess with that, it's not good for our mental health. What actually happens is that our phones emit what they call blue light. And that blue light reduces the production of a chemical in our brain called melatonin, which helps us fall asleep. So yeah, looking at a screen like that, this blue light reduces that production of melatonin and it messes with our sleep. Okay, so what they recommend as a solution is to like not look at screens for an hour before you go to sleep. Now I know like a lot of this I'm preaching to myself as well because I look at my phone a lot and I need to work on it. Don't want to be hypocritical when I say this, I struggle with this too. But yeah, it's like try to find a way to put your screen away before bed if you want to get better and healthier sleep. I know it's difficult. We also have this issue of addiction with our phones. And one element of that is that our phones provide us access to things like pornography and gambling and shopping and stuff that we can get addicted to, like games, right? Video games you can play on your phone, that kind of stuff. those can be, it's just like an opportunity to get addicted to those things. It's access to those things. But we can also be specifically addicted to our phones. And the reason that is because when we get like notifications on our phone, or someone likes something we've posted, it causes our brain to give us a hit of a chemical called dopamine, which is like a pleasure chemical, okay? Makes your brain feel good. Okay, and so we can very easily, if you're getting those notifications, getting that hit of dopamine over and over again, we become addicted to our phones themselves. And so we need to find balance. We need to find ways to take breaks from our phones. And I would say, like, push yourself. If you're really on your phone a lot, start with a small increment of time and then make it bigger and bigger, where you just turn the thing off. Right? It's one thing to say, well, I'm not going to look at it for a bit, but then what does it do? Ding! And then you need to look at it. Okay? Turn it off. And increase that period of time where you're just getting away from your phone to fight against the possibility of becoming addicted to it. And many of us probably already are addicted to it in some ways. Okay, so addiction issues. We also have depression issues with our phones, and they come from a couple of things. One is that on social media, people are posting, like, most often their best moments, right? You're seeing influencers or people posting from the latest vacation they've had, or they're looking really good in a bathing suit, you know, that kind of stuff, where you're just seeing like their best moments, their best selves, and we start to compare ourselves to that. And when we see that we are not at that level that they are at, we can become depressed and anxious. So we're like, how come I'm not always in the Bahamas with a cute boyfriend or girlfriend? You know what I mean? We compare ourselves, and that can lead to this tension in our minds, which can lead to depression and anxiety. So we need to realize that people are not posting their bad moments or their boring moments of life on social media most of the time, right? They're just posting the good things. They go through struggles too. And in fact, if you look into it, a lot of the influencers, the behind the scenes stuff is less than positive, unfortunately, okay? So these comparison issues. We also have this idea where, and we've talked about this a few times now, we're built for relationship, right? God has made us to be in relationship with one another. And social media is good for that to an extent, but it also kind of causes these false relationships or false connections, right? Where you have a bunch of followers on your social media or a bunch of friends, right? That kind of thing. But where are they going to be when a real issue comes out? That comparison, right? It's like maybe you have 500 followers on Instagram. How many of them are going to be there to help you for real when you need something, right? There's this idea that, we have these kind of false connections through social media when we're built for real connections. And so again, it's about balance, right? Making sure that we are not just putting all of our time and focus into social media, but also investing in real personal relationships with people, okay? Because that tension comes up. There's a reason that the Bible says that fellowship is so important, right? We're made to have real connections with other people. So it's about balance, right? Phones are not all bad, but it's about finding ways to take breaks from our phones. It's about realizing that our phones are not everything, that social media is not everything. The good side of this is that phones can be a really good intentional way to connect with each other, especially during a time like this, right, where our social gatherings are restricted. You can bump into someone at church or whatever and be like, hey, how's it going? Good, the typical conversation. Oh, the weather's pretty nice. Nothing really substantial. When you pull out your phone, you're making an intentional decision to text someone or email someone, message someone, call someone, right? You're specifically saying, I'm going to reach out to this person. It's intentional, which is good. It means that we're not just having these kind of floofy, meaningless conversations with people, hopefully. Right? Phones can be an intentional way to connect. And social media can be used to spread all kinds of positive messages. It can be used to build unity on things. It can be used to spread awareness on things. All good. The thing we need to be cautious of course, is that anyone can share their opinion on social media. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. Okay, so sometimes it's hard to sort through, but a lot of the time social media can be used to spread some really positive messages and information. It can be a way that you can share your faith with your friends, which is awesome as well. Okay, so there's balance, right? We need to just realize what the issues and the problems might be with our phones. We need to be aware of them. We need to fight against them as best we can. And I would just encourage you guys, like a lot of us are on our phones a lot, find ways to take breaks, turn it off, put it aside for a certain amount of time, right? Try to increase that so we're not just becoming addicted and dependent on our phones, okay? The Bible tells us that the fruit of the Spirit, right? You can see the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22 to 23. One of those fruits is self-control. Okay, it's important for us to have self-control. If we are addicted to something, that means we do not have self-control, and that is a reason that we need to fight against it, right? If we're on our phones too much, it means we do not have self-control, which we're told is one of those fruits of the Spirit that we need to be cultivating in our lives. Okay? So again, a huge topic, both addiction and phones. Huge topic, hard to cover it all in one lesson. This video is already going a bit long. I would encourage you, if you have questions or concerns, or if you might be struggling with an addiction, please reach out to someone. I am always available to talk. You know, if you want to send me a message, just say, hey, I might be struggling with this. I'll find ways that I can help you, okay? Please do not let even today go by without reaching out to someone if you are struggling with one of these things, okay? Thank you so much for listening. One thing I want to add is that if you made it to the end of this video, I'm kind of curious about who's watching. So if you made it to the end, just shoot me a message however you can, email or whatever, text, if you have my number, and just say, hey, I watched the video, okay? That way I will know. All right, I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.